On Friday, to wrap up SEC Media Days, a list came out that all the media that was out there at SEC Media Days put out their all-SEC team and the projected order of finish. Right now, I want to look at the all-SEC team because I have some major issues with it. When you look at the defense, we'll start there first. LSU has one guy. It's Whit Weeks on the first team at linebacker. Makes a lot of sense. Weeks was excellent last year. If he's fully recovered from that ankle injury that he suffered in the bowl game, then I have no reason to believe that Whit Weeks is not going to be awesome this year as well. Now, the second team, you have one guy as well. Linebacker Harold Perkins. Again, makes sense. You can't put him first team because of the injuries we've seen the last couple of years, but word is they're moving him to the star position full time. I think he's going to thrive there. That's a chance for him to move around. He can cover receivers out of the backfield. He can still rush the passer off the edge. He can still play inside if you need him to. That star position allows Harold Perkins to be very versatile. It frees him up in the Blake Baker defense. I like that. With your specialist, Barian Brown makes second-team returner. Xavier Thomas makes second-team all-purpose. I'm good with that until you see who's in front of them. Like Zachariah Branch from Georgia made first team in both of those categories, so he's first-team returner and first-team all-purpose. I got to be honest. I don't know where the hype around Zachariah Branch is coming from. I know how it started. I don't know why it's continued. So if you remember 2 years ago, opening game of 2023, USC, and I forget who they were playing, but Zachariah Branch, true freshman, first college game, had a punt return for a touchdown and caught a long pass for a touchdown, and people lost their minds. The hype train has not slowed down since. Okay, but during that 2023 season, he had 320 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and then in the return game, he had 300 yards, a punt return, just 1 return touchdown. That's his only return touchdown in 2 years. People talk about Zachariah Branch all the time being this dynamic playmaker. He has 1 return touchdown in punts, 1 on kickoff. Like, that's pretty good, but, I mean, we had heard about Barian Brown and the records that he had set at Kentucky. He has so many returns in big-time moments. Like, Barian Brown has to be first team on this list. And then when you look at the receiving numbers, a 2-year total for Zachariah Branch, 823 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's in 2 full seasons. I get that we saw Zachariah Branch on a big stage early in his career and he performed well. He hadn't done a whole heck of a lot since then. And it's been 2 years. We got to slow down on the Zachariah Branch hype train. So if any of you listen to our station after AFR, the Chuck Oliver Show normally comes on. I love the Chuck Oliver Show because I'm a football nerd, but I understand, everybody's going to have certain opinions. This was about 2 weeks ago. Whoever was filling in for Chuck Oliver, I don't remember the guy's name. But the point of it was he had a Georgia beat reporter on, and they were chatting back and forth about the Bulldogs. And whoever the guy was filling in for Chuck Oliver goes, look, Georgia hadn't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Brock Bowers like 2 or 3 years ago. I think that's going to change. I think Zachariah Branch is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Why? You have a first-year starting quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. You don't have a ton of weapons around him. Your running game, what's that going to look like? Like, how is Zachariah Branch going to get to 1,000 yards? He would have to double his production from a year ago. 503 yards exactly a year ago. That's his best season in college football. How is Zachariah Branch going to get to 1,000 yards? I don't see it. It's hype because you've seen the flashes in big moments, but the consistency has not been there for 2 years now. Going back to it, Barian Brown, Xavier Thomas, second team in returner and all-purpose yards, respectfully. On the offensive side of the ball, Aaron Anderson, Caden Durham, and Garrett Nussmeier all made second team. Anderson, Durham, I'm good with. Anderson over 800 yards last season. He wound up being your leading receiver in terms of yards. And then Caden Durham exploded after about week 3 or 4. Like, he wound up being your running game and kind of carrying you through the rest of the season. I expect him to take a leap forward. I'm good with both of those guys being second team All-SEC. Why is Garrett Nussmeier on the second team? I'm going to continue to bring this up until it changes. Garrett Nussmeier is the leading returning passer in all of college football, meaning nobody starting at quarterback this year in college football threw for more yards than Garrett Nussmeier did a year ago. Nobody. And it's funny, Matt Musso came up to me Friday afternoon because it's when the list came out. He goes, hey, guess who's first team All-SEC quarterback? I'm like, all right, you came up to me and you're asking me this, it means it's not Garrett Nussmeier, which is already ridiculous. I was like, I don't know. Is the Arch hype train exploding? He's like, no, it's not Arch. I was like, a lot of people like DJ Lagway. I still need to see a lot, but there's a lot of hype around DJ Lagway. No, it's Lenora Sellers from South Carolina. Okay. Lenora Sellers did some nice things last year. But when you look at Sellers versus Nuss by the numbers, Lenora Sellers, 65%, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. Garrett Nussmeier, 4,000 yards passing, 29 touchdown passes, but he did have 12 interceptions. I mean, Nuss almost doubled his yardage total. Now, everybody's going to say, okay, well, you got to take into consideration Lenora Sellers' ability to run. Sure, that's fine. I did that. Lenora Sellers, passing and rushing combined, 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns. Garrett Nussmeier still has him beat by almost 1,000 total yards of offense and 7 touchdowns when you take into consideration the 3 touchdowns Nuss had on the ground. It's not really close. And then everyone's going to say, like, I don't remember who it was, but Matt Moscona at SEC Media Days had interviewed one of the SEC media guys out there, and they said, oh, well, Lenora Sellers is going to be my first team All-SEC QB. And when Matt asked why, he said, I can't get the Clemson game out of my head. He went on the road. He beat Clemson late in the year. He was excellent. That game was 17-14. Lenora Sellers did not throw a touchdown pass. Like, again, that game was 17-13. It's not like he went out there and lit up the scoreboard. Now, in Sellers' defense, before that game, I mean, he had a really good 4-game stretch. So before the game against Clemson, he threw for 244, 238, 353, and 307. Multiple touchdown passes in both those games. That was great. A&M, Vandy, Missouri were 3 of those games. Now, the last one was Wofford, but it doesn't matter. That's still a good sample size. But against Clemson, 164 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. Now, he ran for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I have major question marks on Lenora Sellers' ability to throw the football. Go back and watch the South Carolina-Alabama game. In the fourth quarter, South Carolina is going down the field to win the game. If Lenora Sellers hits a wide open man in the back of the end zone that he wound up airmailing, South Carolina beats Alabama, and they should have won that game. But he missed the easy throw. So you look at the Clemson game, okay, 164 through the air, no touchdowns and a pick. They lose the bowl game to Illinois. Now, that was a good Illinois team, but 260 yards, a touchdown. And then they shut him down on the ground, which is why they ultimately lost that game. 11 carries for 19 yards. You're kind of starting to see the picture. When you shut him down and he no longer has the ability to run, he's limited as a passer. So the numbers from last season aren't even close. But I was like, okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're projecting to next season. When you project to next season, like, it's almost worse. And then also, going back to the end of last season, throw those numbers out the window. Because if you look at Garrett Nussmeier, when Chris Hilton was fully healthy, last 3 games of the year, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, the bowl game against Baylor, Garrett Nussmeier, 72% completion, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. When you finally had that deep threat to open up the offense. Lenora Sellers did not have that. But if you're projecting to this year, I think the gap gets even larger. LSU's loaded with weapons. Yes, they lose Kyron Lacey. He made some big plays for you last year. Yes, you lose Mason Taylor, the best tight end in program history. Trey'Dez Green and Bauer Sharp, the combination of those two might actually give you more versatility than you had with Mason Taylor. You bring in Berrien Brown, Nick Anderson. You get Aaron Anderson back. Xavion Thomas is there. Chris Hilton's there. You just went to SEC Media Days. They're obviously expecting big things from him. Jelani Watkins has more speed than anybody out there if he could ever get on the field. Teron Francis was a high 4-star. Phillip Wright was a 4-star receiver. And these are guys that hadn't even stepped foot on the field yet. Kylan Billiott's out there. If Kyle Parker can bounce back from his injury, you get the point. LSU has a lot of weapons. And most of those guys I just mentioned have already made big plays for you. Who's South Carolina's top weapon? Like, if I ask the average football fan, name me South Carolina's number one receiver, they're not going to be able to do it. And everyone wants to say Nicholas Harbor. But I'm not sure that's true. Like, Nick Harbor is a 6'4", 235-pound freak that runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, and he hasn't done anything in college football. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of athleticism. He has done nothing. He's entering his junior season. So he's had 2 full years of football that he's already played. His best year was last season, where he had 376 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. That's it. You have Rocket Sanders in the backfield. You have Lenore Sellers and their ability to run. That's fine, but find me the weapons that are going to help out Lenore Sellers. Not only is Garrett Nussmeier a much better and much more polished passer than Sellers, I personally don't think it's close. The weapons and the guys around them that can help out their quarterback and make that guy better, it's not even close. So Nussmeier has the number advantage from a season ago by a lot. He has a lot more weapons, in my opinion, heading into the season. What am I missing here? Because, again, if you go by raw numbers, it's Garrett Nussmeier. If you go by what you're projecting in next season, I don't know how it's not Garrett Nussmeier there as well. To me, this screams laziness by the media. I mentioned when Matt had, I can't remember who it was. Matt had the guy on at SEC Media Days, and he said, I can't get the end of the season out of my head. Garrett Nussmeier ended his season better than Lenore Sellers. So throw that out the window. And I understand Lenore Sellers got hurt right before halftime in the LSU game. And if he doesn't, South Carolina likely wins that game. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, he did leave that game, and LSU did win that game. So LSU had the head-to-head over South Carolina a year ago. Whether they should have won it or not doesn't matter at this point. Nusmeier went on the road and beat South Carolina. He had 7 touchdowns and 1 pick through the last 3 games of the year. He has a ton of weapons coming in. Lenore Sellers doesn't have any of those things. You lost the bowl game to Illinois, and everyone wants to talk about how you dominated Clemson. It was 17-14. It was a defensive game. You ran for 166 yards. That's great. You threw for less than 170, threw a pick, and no touchdown passes. Like, I don't understand what I'm missing here with Lenore Sellers. I think this is laziness by the media. I think it's recency bias because everyone wants to talk about Sellers late in the season. However, if you actually do your research and dig into the numbers, it shouldn't even be recency bias because Nuss was better at the end of the year.